Hello, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Chef Johnny Schwa. We've been waiting for a little bit, really busy, but we're back on track. I've been cooking a lot in school. Working on Southeast Asia has been just an incredible experience, as my students will tell you. We're getting ready to wrap it up with our last lab. We're making lumpia, the fried Filipino spring roll. Has meat and vegetables. We have shredded carrots and scallions, little soy sauce, garlic and ginger. Our pork, we ground our pork in class, added a little extra fat to it. Mixture is looking really great. So let me talk to you a little bit about tonight's dinner. First thing I have set up for us is some chicken wings. And I have some chicken wings I'm going to bake in the oven. And I just have salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic powder. I'm going to go ahead and grab just a little bit of olive oil. There's a good amount of fat on the wings themselves. And I'm going to bake these at about 325 degrees for about 45 minutes. Okay. At that time, we're going to take them out of the pan. We're going to align them onto a pan for the broiler, and we're going to be finishing them under the broiler. You know, wings have a lot of fat on them, okay, and they need to be cooked very slowly. But we all love crispy wings. So again, a little salt, little pepper, little garlic powder, olive oil, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in my small oven for about 45 minutes at 325 degrees. Again, put them onto a pan. And then we're going to be using the juice coming off the bottom of the wings, and we're going to brush that on under the broiler, and we're going to get them nice and crispy. I'm going to be serving these as a dry style wing tonight, and if anybody wants any hot sauce or Tabasco or sriracha, they can put it on themselves, because the star of the show is lentils. And you know, I absolutely love lentils. I was really humbled recently. I was in an Indian market, and they had a whole aisle at the store on both sides just dedicated to lentils. And you know, it was just a very humbling experience. So for today we have some red lentils that we're going to be making. Some, you know, very simple, pure ingredients today, but what we're looking for is really quality on flavor. So we have our red lentils. I have some vine ripened tomatoes. We're going to be adding those in later on. We have some organic rainbow carrots. We use all the purple ones up, but we have some white ones, and we have the orange ones. These are not parsnips. Some organic celery, some Vidalia onion, and then a little bit of sweet potato. And we're going to be adding our sweet potato in, you know, really to make it a little hearty. It's going to rain out tonight. It's going to be in the 60s. A little bit of wings, a little bit of stew is really what we're looking for. And then we're going to be using, we've started growing this, purple kale, and we're going to be adding purple kale into the recipe later in the process, and we're going to be braising the purple kale. We started growing purple kale in part of our garden, so we got to start using it up. So I have purple kale, and I'm going to be adding to this. So this is going to be just a really nice braise, braising our lentils, braising our sweet potatoes, and braising our purple kale. We have our liquid for today is a brown chicken stock. We had chicken wings that were used in the classroom, and we took those wings and legs, took the meat off the legs, and then I used those to make a chicken stock. No mirepoix, just very, very simple. So I really wanted to start focusing on some knife skills. You know, as we're going through and teaching all the cooking and sharing my dinner with you, I really want to take the time to work on a little bit of knife skills. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my induction burner, get that on menu. I'm going to go power about number 75. Beautiful. Outstanding. Okay, first up is our knife. You know, holding your knife in your hand, getting a good grip, right? You want 3 fingers right in that notch, a thumb on one side, and your finger curled on that back side. That knife should feel very strong in your hand. Okay, then knowing how to do a stroke, not lifting the knife off the cutting board each and every time, and then using your hand as a guide hand is going to be important. You know, we never want to hold our hands to the side, lay our hands flat, and run the risk of coming down onto our hands. So I'm going to start with my onions. The first process that we're going to be doing is we're going to be sweating our onions. And sweating is a slow technique. We may start with a hot pan, but we're quickly going to turn our pan down. So for the onion, what we don't want to do is chop it. It turns watery. A lot of things start coming out of there. I'm just going to turn this off for a moment. I don't want that to get too hot. And we're just kind of cutting the onion so it's in a smaller shape. So I have the core of the onion in the back, and I'm going to make some slits, depending on how big I want my dice to be, about 90% towards the back of the onion. That's where the core is, and we're not going to be using that part anyway. So after I make my slits, I'm going to make one level, and then I can go ahead and make another level. So now when I come in down on top of my onion, again with my hand behind the blade, my onion is automatically diced. I don't have to go through and chop it up, because that's going to change the flavor, it's going to change the texture, right? All the water starts coming out of the onion, and it really changes the onion. So, we don't want to transform it too much. So, I'm going to go ahead and get my pan going. The sweating technique I had mentioned earlier, this is a gentle method of cooking. You may start on a high heat to get it going, but then we turn the pan down. We don't want any caramelization, and we're trying to develop the natural sugars in our vegetables. Vegetables being 75, 65% water, some of them, it really takes time to cook all that water out. Another important part, you want to make sure, I'm using some kosher sea salt here, you want to go ahead and add that in. It's going to help your onions to start sweating. So go ahead and grab a spoon. You want to move those around, right, as they're cooking. Again, we're not looking for any caramelization. I'll be using a small amount of lentils today. I'm not making a full bag, probably about half. So I'm only going to start out by using half an onion. Okay. Next up is my celery. And a lot of times people, want to leave the celery out. And the celery is a really important part of your mirepoix. It's providing moisture to your vegetables while they're sweating, while the carrots are sweating, while the onions are sweating. They're allowing them, one, not to caramelize, but two, we really want to keep our mirepoix balanced. And the celery helps to bring some balance to that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm cutting my celery into large batonette or large baton. Okay, it's about a ½ inch in diameter. Okay, and we're going to be dicing them. Anytime you're going to be dicing something, you must first learn how to slice something. Okay? So we turn our slices into dices. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make, small to a medium dice on my celery, and then I have that all set and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and add my celery into my vegetables. Want to make sure that as we're cooking right now, we're not creating any caramelization. We're watching the bottom of the pan, right? We hear it, we see it, we smell it, okay? But we don't want any caramelization. If we start getting any caramelization on the pan, we start seeing any fond on the bottom of the pan, we're going to go ahead and turn our pan down. So I'm going to turn it down. I'm not seeing any right now, but I want to slow it down. So I'm on about 50% power. I'm going to go ahead and take my carrots, and not going to be peeling my carrots. A lot of the nutrients in most vegetables is found in the skin. And once we go ahead and take that skin off, we're losing a lot of necessary nutrients, a lot of phytonutrients that are going to be in that area. Okay, I'm going to cut my carrots similar to how I was cutting my celery. First, I'm going to cut those into planks, and then we can turn our planks into dices. Okay, I'm going to turn those. Notice how when I'm cutting, keeping my hand in front at all times. Okay, focusing on knife skills. Really important part in cooking. Makes your food cook uniformly, shows your customer that you really care and took the time, right? We're just cooking for our family, but it really lends in. I'm going to go ahead and add in about, let's say, a cup of the carrot. I'm going to be adding in some sweet potato, so I do want to kind of cut back a little bit on that. And also we're looking for about a medium dice. Again, I have the knife in front of my hand, And using that nice rocking motion is really what we're going after. I'm going to go ahead and add all that in. Give this a nice stir. We don't see any caramelization. I'll give you a little peek in just a moment. And we can really get that going beautifully. All right? So get those moving. And as we can see, no caramelization. We're starting to sweat our vegetables. The moisture's coming out of them, right? And really starting to develop those natural sugars and flavors, okay? I have a little extra of the yellow carrot. I'm gonna go ahead and add in just a little bit more. I added in some more of the white carrot, but I wanna kind of follow it through. All right, so these are some smaller carrots, but doesn't mean they should look a heck of a lot different than what you already have in there. You know, we do want uniformity as we were talking. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this, you know, maybe about an extra 3/4 of a cup, okay? And then use that nice rocking motion and rocking right through there, okay? Then go ahead and add those in there. This is looking beautiful, okay? All right, next up. How do I know when my vegetables are done sweating? Okay, and this is the base for any kind of soup, is that your onions start to turn a clear color and the other vegetables start to become vibrant in color. And that's really what we're looking for. Made sure we washed all our vegetables today, washed our carrots, washed our celery, and our sweet potato. I'm going to go ahead and there's a little bit of a bruise on the back of the sweet potato. I'm going to go ahead and take that away and cut the ends off. You know, don't be afraid to trim your vegetables. They're not always going to look pretty. They grow on the ground. And the more organic that we go, the more organic that we buy, less pesticides, the more bruising, the more inconsistency we're going to see. But that, like anything in life, that inconsistency should be celebrated. Okay? It shouldn't be something that we scoff at or don't use or think, you know, it's of inferior quality. All right? So I have my vegetables sweating beautifully. They're starting to turn clear as the onions are, and then the other vegetables are starting to become in that vibrant color, carrots and things. I'm going to go ahead and add my lentils in right now. Like rice peel-off, it gives them an opportunity, like my spoon today, everybody, gives them an opportunity to kind of absorb a lot of flavors. Okay, so we're going to let those cook in there. We're looking really great. On about 3/4 power right now. I'm not going to go for a very large dice. These red lentils aren't going to take terribly long to cook. Okay, maybe 40 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. So I want my sweet potato to kind of cook in line with that. Again, keeping the skin on also helps the sweet potato to hold its shape. Okay, and that's important at this cooking. I'm going to have all these set and ready to go. Again, cutting my batons first, my bâtonnets, getting all those lined up, and we're going to add those in. Okay, looking great. Okay, so next we're going to start to incorporate our stock. You know, I have my chicken stock I had on in the back, had nice and hot. So when I go ahead and add it in, I'm coming up right to a boil. And then I can kind of get it right where I need it to be. Instead of waiting for it to come up, you know, when you add a cold stock or cold liquid into anything, it takes time for that to come. All right, we want to make sure we have all of our lentils into our soup. Not adding too much seasoning right now. Everything has lots of flavor. We add a little salt and pepper into our mirepoix. I'm going to go ahead and cut my sweet potato. Okay, again, using that rocking motion, keeping my hand behind the knife. Okay, and always with the knife away from your body. You don't want to cut towards yourself, and you don't want to end up in the hospital. And that's for sure. Okay, so looking really great. And I'm gauging to use maybe a little bit more of my sweet potato. I'm not going to use all of it. Any extra sweet potatoes that I have, I'll probably toss with a little olive oil and throw those right in. So we have about 1.5 cups of sweet potato. Go ahead and add those sweet potatoes right in. You know, and don't forget, we're going to be getting a lot of moisture coming off our vegetables. So even though this may look very stocked right now, a lot of moisture is going to come off. And on top of this, I put a very strong chicken stock. So as this is cooking, I'm not going to hesitate to put a little bit of water in there. The chicken stock that we made cooked for probably 6 hours over 2 different days. It was concentrated down. It wasn't a dark chicken stock, but it had some really deep flavor that I definitely could have watered down. But, you know, figured, well, let me see what I'm going to be making with it and how I'm going to be using it, and I can go ahead and adjust it later. Okay, so looking really great. I'm going to be finishing this lentil soup with some fresh thyme. I have all kinds of oregano outside. I may use some Greek oregano, maybe some thyme and some Greek oregano. We have our chicken wings. I'm sure we're going to chop up some rosemary and add those to our salt and pepper chicken wings after we broil them in the oven. Maybe broil some whole rosemary stalks in with it under the broiler. The house is going to smell incredible. So again, lentil soup's going to take about 35-40 minutes, and about 10 or 15 minutes towards the end of the cooking process, I'm going to be adding in my purple kale. Now, when working with purple kale, very big stalk on the bottom, and you want to go ahead and you want to break off those large pieces. I've washed the kale when I came in and ran it under cold water and gave it some time to really dry out. And we're going to go ahead and pull the back, really thick stem. If you like them, you could leave them. They end up taking too long to cook for me, and then the kale feels like it's being overcooked, if that could be. You know, anytime we're making braises, things can overcook. I'm going to go a little higher. Bring that to a simmer a little quicker. I'm going to roll, and then I'm going to cut this into large pieces. I'm not going to dice it. I'm not going to chiffonade it. Okay? I just kind of took the purple kale and we put it into a roll and go ahead and cut some nice pieces. So, how will I know when it's time to add my kale? Well, I'm going to go ahead and taste my food. You know, don't be afraid to taste your food. Taste your lentils. Know how long. Know where they are right now. You know, I'm going to grab a spoon. Just hold on a second right now. I'm going to grab a spoon right behind you and go ahead and taste my lentils. Okay? Again, we have so many vegetables. Right? We're going to be getting lots of water off of this. Okay? Add a little bit of water to it. It's going to be a good thing, but very hearty. Oh my gosh. That dark chicken stock, boy, phenomenal. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water to this, just to kind of help it along. Again, that chicken stock is so flavorful. It's really going to be, I'm not going to add anything else to this right now. I'm going to let this cook and evaluate this later on. Again, if you finish with anything, it's going to be a little bit of salt and pepper, some fresh herbs. Our chicken wings, again, are in the oven, 325 for about 45 minutes. We're going to finish those under the broiler. We're going to brush some of the liquid coming off of the wings. Use that as our basting sauce and baste them under the broiler. Turn them a couple of times. They're going to be nice and crispy. And some fiery rosemary, maybe our accoutrement. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share my dinner with you. And I hope you had as much fun as I did. And continue to watch our show. Thank you so much and have a great day, everybody. See you, Aunt Jackie.